Hello and welcome to Theme Park Information. In today's show, we're doing the first ever versus match on my channel, which is versus match between Alton Towers and Thorpe Park, obviously both in the UK. Hopefully you enjoy the video. Remember to like, comment and subscribe for more Theme Park information. And let's get straight into it. So pretty much these parks are fairly similar. Obviously you're going to prefer one or the other. I happen to think that there's a clear winner in this, but let's go into more details. Let's have a look at the roller coasters to begin with. Let's have a look at the major roller coasters, I think, as well as the start with. So I would say Thorpe Park just about takes this one. That is mainly because of my opinions on Alton Towers' roller coaster. So I really like Nemesis. I think it's a really, really good ride. And then after that, I'm a little bit disappointed by it, I would say. It's like I am not a huge fan of the Smile. I think it's a reasonably okay ride. I don't think it's anything overly special. I think it's quite rough, quite uncomfortable, but, you know, it's a long ride, quite fun, you know, well themed. Unfortunately, you just have to queue a long time for it, and I've never really, you know, had like a particular like wow factor to it, I think. And then we have Galactica, which is, you know, just, well, air as I prefer to say it, because I don't really get the name change. I'm not a huge fan of flying coasters, I would say. It's a little bit tedious, a little bit boring. It's a great concept, it's a really cool idea. It's really well executed. The ride is incredibly smooth. It has really good operations. It's not a bad ride. I'm not hated on it particularly. It's just, you know, it's just quite good. It's very similar to Smile in terms of its quality. It's kind of like, yeah, it's okay. Then we have Oblivion, which is a sort of ride where I've always kind of enjoyed it, but there just isn't really enough to it. There isn't enough of a ride there to really justify, you know, being considered like a really important ride for this park. Then we have like 13, which obviously pretty much a kind of like family roller coaster, like good fun. Obviously, you know, has the track drop section in it, which is really, really cool. But, you know, nothing too special. Then we have Rita, and I will be honest, I think Rita is a massive non-event. It usually has quite a long queue, doesn't really do much for its track, doesn't really have that much airtime or versions or anything like that. It's just very much a meandering coaster. Has, you know, really pointless over-the-shoulder harnesses as well, which just really kind of ruins it a little bit. Then, obviously, we have Spitball Wizard, which is obviously, again, a little family roller coaster. Good fun, but nothing too special. And then you have a look at what Thorpe Park has to offer. And personally, I think it is so much, you know, more rounded. I think there's a far better balance to it. So, I mean, in fairness, stealth, I will argue that the point with Oblivion kind of stands with that. But I would say at least it's a launch, you know, like, you know, really cool, like a top element and then a drop. So I could say there is a little bit more to it than Oblivion, but even so, yeah, I would understand the complaint for it. Then we have Solar Ride. I will be honest, I think Solar Ride is better than the Smiler, which I was probably going to get some complaints with it. A lot of people do complain it is quite rough. I just personally have never found it to be that rough. I've just always found it to be really good fun and really enjoyable. Like with like a really cool drop, you know, really cool inversions, really great theming, good interactions, like and such. So I've never really had a problem with it. I do appreciate that roughness is entirely subjective. Some people will find roller coasters rough, which other people find smooth. So it's just my opinion on it. Obviously, you know, if you disagree with it, then feel free to, like, you know, comment below on which ride you would have it, which rides you prefer. That's all fine. Then we have Nemesis Inferno, and I will be honest, actually this is one of the most underrated rides in the country. It's a really, really solid, compact, inverted roller coaster. I mean, I think what really kills it is the fact it has the word Nemesis in it, and that gets comparisons, and that is where it kind of falls down, I'm afraid. It's very much a decent ride, just could be a little bit better, not as good as its bigger brother, should we say. Then we've got the Swan, which I really love. I think it's a really well themed, really interactive, really, you know, excellent roller coaster. It's smooth, comfortable, compact, really cool layout. I really like it. Then we have the potentially, you know, controversial one of the Colossus. Now, when this ride first opened, it was pretty much outrageous. It was unreal, so good. Nowadays, it's really rough, quite uncomfortable, and a sort of roller coaster you only go on once, which is a bit of a shame. It has definitely fallen down the pecking order considerably since it first opened, which is a bit of a shame. Wish it could be revitalised. I think Thorpe Park would be a lot stronger of a park if it was. And then we have the rethemed X, which has been turned into The Walking Dead. That's a really cool ride. I mean, they have slowly been improving this roller coaster for the last like 10 years. It seems it's like just been generally getting better and better. And I will be honest, I think sooner or later they will have a really solid roller coaster there, I think. Right, let's move on to the thrill rides. I will be honest once again, I actually don't think there's any complaints or comparisons here. Thorpe Park has a better selection of thrill rides. Pretty much you have like Rush, Zodiac. I mean, obviously there's an Enterprise at Alton Towers, but there's Zodiac at Thorpe Park. Obviously there's Vortex, Samurai, Detonator. That's a pretty strong thrill ride layout, I suppose. Then, unfortunately, we obviously do have the sad news that Slammer is obviously shut as well and won't be opening again, which is a real shame. I really used to love Slammer. I used to think it was probably the best flat ride in the UK. It's a real pity that it isn't available. And then, what does Alton Towers have other than an Enterprise? It has a pirate ship, and that's kind of it. It's like Alton Towers obviously used to have Ripsaw, which was a really cool ride. It used to have Submission, which wasn't a really good ride at all. It was rubbish, but it was still another ride at the park. Anyway, let's move on to the water rides. And I will be honest, this one's actually really difficult because both of these parks have been kind of removing their like iconic log flumes, and it's just kind of put a little bit of a bitter kind of taste in my mouth as to what to think of their water rides. So, for example, I prefer the Rapids rides at Alton Towers. I think it's better. It's better in terms of its layout. It's longer, has a bit more kind of in it with like actual waves. You kind of get quite wet. I think it's also a really nice area of the park, and it works really well with the Runaway Mine Train, which is there as well. It's like then again, like Thorpe Park does actually have like more water rides. Obviously, it has Tidal Wave, which is good fun. Absolute soaker, obviously, but good ride. Obviously, it does have a Rapids ride, but they're not particularly good. And then they have the awful Storm Surge. Jesus, it's probably one of my least favourite rides in the country. It's so pointless. I just can't think of anything really positive. I mean, I will be honest, I am so tempted to give it to Alton Towers, just simply because obviously, of course, there's obviously the older Battle Gallons as well, one of the best little water rides in the country. Love that thing so much fun. Like, it's just as if you go there and it's quite a cold day, and it means you can't really utilise it. Yeah, no, I will be honest, I think water rides could go to Alton Towers, though, I mean, obviously a real shame that Alton Towers got rid of their log theme, but obviously building a new roller coaster in its place, which you may have noticed I haven't talked about, I haven't forgotten about it. Dark rides are really strange for these parks, because both of these kind of, like, have attempted to kind of build, like dark rides and stuff. Like, obviously, Thorpe Park has the Dan Brown's Ghost Train at the minute, and they obviously have had the now seasonal like Soar Alive, and there's obviously the I'm a Service to Get Me Out Here kind of attractions. And I will be honest, I'm not a huge dark ride fan, but then again, Alton Towers really has only kind of had like Nemesis, like Subterranean, which is actually quite good fun. Which is weird that I don't particularly like them, but I actually kind of quite enjoyed that one. But overall, they're all right dark rides, but so I'd really be rating the parks on particularly. Let's move on to like how easy they are to get to. Unfortunately, this one is very easy to go to Thorpe Park because it's pretty close to a few major motorways near town as well, whereas Alton Towers is kind of in the middle of nowhere, which does appeal to the charm of it, but we'll get there in just a sec, because the next topic on this is like park appearance, and I will be honest, Alton Towers is a lovely theme park. It's really picturesque. Obviously, it has the really cool gardens. There's the towers. Just a really, really, really nice little park. Really appreciated how it looks. Then let's get into the getting around. So obviously, Thorpe Park, you walk, and that's it. It's a bit of a shame. For Alton Towers, it has to be said, the monorail system is really, really cool. I actually will be honest, it really adds something to the experience, especially when you go past like things like Nemesis and stuff like that on the way in. Really kind of builds, the anticipation and stuff like that. There's also obviously the cable cars as well, which kind of go around. They're really good fun, and they really do cut the size of the park down considerably. It means you could get from one end to the other relatively quickly. It's overall really good how they utilise their kind of like space and stuff like that. Moving on to a few downsides to these parks. Obviously, Alton Towers' downsides aren't overly down to the park itself. It's more down to the area in the country it's in and the local residents, which have various complaints to do with noise and to do with like the height limit and stuff like that for their rides, which obviously is going to impact that park hugely. They have to be very creative with what they build. Obviously, they have just completed the latest secret weapon project, which is obviously Wicker Man, a pretty cool looking wooden roller coaster. And it just goes to show that they can do some really cool stuff when they set their mind to it. Whereas Thorpe Park's major problem is that actually its development. I mean, I've made a video on it before, where it's like Thorpe Park should be head and shoulders the best theme park in the UK, and I don't want to say in Europe, but it should have possibly the most roller coasters in Europe. It should be the sort of park which has like a hyper coaster. I don't know about a giga coaster, that might be taking it a little bit too far, but it should have a really good roller coaster lineup, especially at the rate they were developing rides a few years ago, and they kind of just sort of seem to have hit the brakes on that. Overall, let's talk a little about prices. Unfortunately, both these parks are somewhat expensive. You're looking at about £50 to go there for a day, and I don't think that's particularly acceptable. I will say that I've always found you get more for your money at Alton Towers. I tend to find that even if like their ride operations and stuff like that can be quite poor, and how likely you are to have one of those rides shut is also a lot more likely than it is at Thorpe Park. Thorpe Park's major problem with that sort of thing is to do with how many times they run like one train on Colossus and like Nemesis Inferno, which is a bit of a shame there. I will say that Alton Towers is definitely the prettier of the two parks. We'll also be honest, Alton Towers will definitely get some bonus points for having hotels, whereas Thorpe Park does kind of have a hotel, but it's very temporary kind of things. Like it's just waiting for them to actually build their planned hotel, which they've never got around to doing. So overall, I will be honest, I went into this video kind of thinking that Thorpe Park was better and I'm going to stick with that. I think Thorpe Park has a lot of rides in a very small area. Like the footprint of the park is pretty small. The food at both parks is very similar, so I'm not going to discuss it. I would say the clientele at both parks, which is a really strange one, I noticed it in quite a few videos, is also very similar. In fairness, I've never had any problems at Thorpe Park. I've had a couple at Alton Towers, but nothing too big. Let's also look at, would I go back through these parks? Yeah, probably. So, obviously, feel free to comment down below which park you think is better, which park you think, deserves to be, voted as well to be the best between the two. Obviously, feel free to like, comment, and subscribe to my videos as always. This has been Food Park Information, and I'll catch you guys on the next one. Have a good day.